Hey, Shane. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem. No problem. Shane, you do a lot. I think I came across you in your podcast or one of your podcasts, may have been a year and a half ago. And then last year via Unscripted Ohio Podcast Network, I saw you again doing stuff there. Tell the people what you do, the shows you host, the difference between the shows and things like that, if you could.
Yeah, man. It's been fun. So my main show that I started a little bit over 3.5 years ago is called the Gametime Guru. So I began that show myself, built that brand out from the very beginning. That's my show. That's where you'll see me, like all my handles for social media. It's the Gametime Guru. And that is my show where I interview sports figures from all across the globe, and I get to hear their stories. So what I tell people, Jay, is that the Gametime Guru was the Players Tribune before the Players Tribune existed, and the Gametime Guru was uninterrupted before LeBron James started uninterrupted, like started doing their interviews with different people. And there's other shows out there now like Knuckleheads and what's the other one? All the Smoke
All
with
the
Matt
smoke,
Barnes. Yeah, it's a similar format. I interview sports figures, except it's not just one niche. It's all sports figures, big, small, whoever. So I've been doing that for 3.5 years. That's my main show. However, like you said, I do have a couple of other shows for the Unscripted Ohio Podcast Network. Last year, I was blessed to be able to work with them. And I was hosting a once-a-week college football podcast called Gridiron Gametime. And that was a general college football podcast once a week that I was doing for them. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be doing this year, just considering the circumstances that we're at. But I was doing once a week with them, and that was an amazing opportunity to work with people within the network, getting to know the entire team, and getting to be around Buckeyes fans, because I'm a huge Buckeye fan from Boise, Idaho, but love the Buckeyes. So it's cool to be around a lot of people in the Ohio sphere, if you will. And the other show that I host is called the Nation's Best Ballers and Recruits podcast. Because of the Gametime Guru podcast, Nation's Best Football, who has a huge Instagram following. That's their main source of social media, but they do have a pretty large following elsewhere as well. Nation's Best reached out to me. We started working together. We have a partnership together. So what we did is started a show for them. And that's also where we interview high school, youth, high school, college, professional football players, and then anybody in that space. So like Lee Steinberg, sports agent, got to talk to him on the show. David Irving. We also got to interview an entire team called the OG Ducks out of California, the best youth football team in the country. Last year went 22-0, won 3 national championships. A lot of talents produced out of there. We got to interview a couple of them. Kayvon Wallace from Clemson, got to talk to him. Just one of those shows where we're interviewing different, specifically football minded individuals.
Which one, if any, because I know you do a lot of stuff, which one would you say is your favorite of the shows that you host?
My show.
Because they're all three are different.
Yeah, they're all different. But my show, the Gametime Guru, that's my bread and butter. That's my favorite. That's the one I've been building that's where I put all my time and effort into. That's my baby. And so the Gametime Guru, 100%. Now, I do appreciate the audiences and the other networks like Unscripted Ohio. I love the people that I interact with on a daily basis on Twitter and stuff, especially during football season. Then obviously Nation's Best Football, I got the leads from the guy who runs Nation's Best Football, so I didn't have to do any of the front end work. He has all the connections everywhere because he's an NFL media member, and so I got to do that. That's the nice part about that, and the building the connections. But building my show from the ground up, the Gametime Guru, and seeing where it's at now compared to 3.5 years ago, that's my baby. So that's my favorite, man.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And the listeners of this podcast, they have heard me talk about the Unscripted Ohio Podcast Network because I'm supposed to be starting a show this year. Kyle kind of has me on that Wednesday slot. It's Ohio State centric, so I'm not taking any of your shine. 2 different shows there. But I don't know. Every time I keep announcing it here, it doesn't hit Twitter because the season's in limbo. The seasons we think we're going to have one, we think we're not going to have one. And it's very confusing for me to kind of how to promote a new show when I'm not sure if a new show is going to be there. But I was really excited. I liked your show last year because you kind of tied the college football one. You tied in a lot of not just college football as a whole, but you tied in Boise State stuff and Group of 5 stuff, things that many people don't normally talk about, but it was kind of refreshing. It was kind of nice to hear someone not just highlight Boise State, but other schools in the Group of 5 that need a lot of attention because they play really good football.
Right. That was kind of a fun little segment I included last year. Kyle kind of gave me the reins to try to, create segments, and the Group of 5 dive was one of them. And, I get it. Like if the Power 5 homers out there that's all they see and that's all they've known, that's what they've grown up with. I get it. But for me, being from Boise, I'm a Boise State alum. Granted, I love my Ohio State Buckeyes, but I see, I'm a Boise State guy. So I see the talent that is there in the Group of 5. And yeah, it was fun talking about them, especially last year when you had the UCF before, they kind of hit a tailwind downward spiral at the end of the season. But you had UCF and Boise State all in the mix. There's a couple teams every year that that actually can make some impact. And people they hate on the group of 5 teams, Jay. I don't understand. Like, some of the top-notch guys, they're solid groups of individuals. They're solid football players. Just because the schools aren't the biggest doesn't mean that they can't play football.
Very true. Very true. I remember when I was just outside of high school at this time, but it was a Boise State, Oklahoma. Forget what bowl game that was. I think it was Oklahoma, the bowl game where they had the Statue of Liberty, and then they had another play which is notable. I can't think of the players' names. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about.
I was at the game, man. I was
right there
on the 30-yard line. Yeah, I was 18 years old. I was at the game. It was the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma. The hook and ladder on 4th and 18. We were down by 7. 4th and 18, backs against the wall, just threw it, hook and ladder, touchdown. Then we go into overtime. Not only did we do a halfback pass to get the touchdown because we were down by 7 there as well, because Adrian Peterson had a touchdown on the first carry of overtime. Down by 7, it was a 4th down and 2, halfback pass to the tight end in the end zone. Derek Schumann catches it. Then the 2-point conversion, we decided to go for 2. We were worn down. We decided to go for 2. Statue of Liberty to Ian Johnson, runs it into the end zone, throws it into the stands, proposes to his girlfriend, and the rest is history, man.
Man, those are the moments that we live for as college football fans. And unfortunately, with the news that came out, I don't know if it was Sunday. It may have been Sunday, because Saturday, we got schedules just a few days ago, literally. A few days ago, Big Ten, SEC released their schedules. And I even heard Ryan Day today, before you and I started recording, Ryan Day talking about, okay, we got some kind of something in concrete, something set in stone about the schedule. And he even mentioned how there were built-in days to kind of push the schedule back or the season back if need be, due to testing, due to kids being on campus, whatever it is. But now Sunday, we get news that maybe the Big Ten, maybe the Pac-12, there's uncertainty there. Presidents this morning on Monday morning, watching the Dan Patrick show before I left for work. And normally it's maybe Dan, maybe not Dan. Sometimes I want to watch some TV to just get my mind off sports. Sometimes I want to watch Dan Patrick, as he is maybe the best host, either radio or TV, for the morning. Get Up is great. Greeny does a phenomenal job. But when you're just waking up, and I don't go to work till 10 o'clock, so I kind of have it blessed to wake up and just relax a little bit. So Dan Patrick is great. And then I sit here and I'm watching and I'm listening, and he says, I'm hearing from my source, someone that has been very reliable, very good to me for, I think he said 10 years now. Pac-12, Big Ten, sure looks like they'll cancel the season on Tuesday. Comes out later on Monday. Kirk Herbstreit comes out, and he doesn't normally report on stuff like this at all, but he's saying, everything's still up in the air, not sure what's going to happen. So I am sitting here just wondering what's going to happen from my point of view. The MAC already canceled I think the MAC canceled fall sports. I think the Mountain West, now correct me if I'm wrong, only canceled football. I believe they're having other fall sports, but I believe they only canceled football. So I'm just curious to see, just from my point of view, what's going to happen next. So I'm not sure, especially with you being a graduate of Boise State. I know that hits you different than, say, me. I love the blue turf, but you went to that school. You know what that stands for. You know what people that are in that community live for, especially around football season. What has been kind of your takeaway with this wild past 3 to 4 days, 7 days, if you want to go back to a week ago, when trying to consume and take in everything going on right now in college football?
Man, it's brutal. So let's talk about that. Like Boise State, just to touch base on one of the points, to my understanding, the Mountain West postponed fall sports and like in general. So like there's a lot of like women's volleyball and stuff that for Boise State that's going to be impacted. But obviously for our school, football is the money generator, right? For those who haven't really paid attention to Boise State, like smaller schools don't have the revenue and the I guess the boosters and everything coming from the alumni the same way that other schools do. They're not generating so much revenue every year. So if you don't have a football season, you're going to you lose all that revenue. That's why we had to cut the baseball program.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys saw that, and the swimming and diving team, they cut the baseball program after it just started and had a really promising beginning to it. It was awesome. People were stacked at those games, and they had to cut those because the budget was bad. You cut football out of it, it's going to be brutal. I think there's the media is all going to have different opinions. Like some people say, I don't care, we got to keep these kids safe. And there's other people that are going to riot because they don't have their football, right? To each their own. But here in Boise, and I think it's the same anywhere. Like I'm looking at Ohio State Twitter as we speak. Okay, they're going crazy just with the thought of Ohio State and the Big Ten just not playing and not having their opportunity to play. Like people, they love their football. It's going to be a major economical impact to the university. The thing is, though, I would throw this question back to you, Jay. This is one that I've also asked people. What's worse, though, like playing in front of no fans, where the cost, you lose all the ticket sales and you still have to produce the games, travel, pay all the costs and the fees for the players, and there's a lot of expense in that. Is it worse to play in front of no fans economically? Like we're talking about like your impact financially, I should say, or just not have a season. What's worse? I mean, that's a legitimate question. And I was looking at numbers. I'm like, it's almost worse to literally play in front of no fans because you're losing out on all the money. And it still costs money to play. The thing that sucks is like, that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the entire university from academics. The money's not coming in to pay the professors. And Boise State's not we don't have a ton of money coming in. Like you can't look at a $2 billion program. That's not how it is. You lose that, it's going to be a major impact. And the same with the MAC schools and the same with any other Mountain West school. It's going to be the same thing. These group of fives are going to have a hard time recuperating. It's not just this season. It's a ripple effect for later on. Just wait and see.
I'll take that a step further. You talk about the economic effect with the school. I know a lot of people have talked about how it will affect the cost of tuition, because if you take football away, that's a big moneymaker for a lot of schools. And you mentioned that tuition costs may be different. But I always also talk about you have your college towns. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. My mom went to Indiana University in Bloomington. There's nothing. You take IU out of that town, you don't go to Bloomington. You pass through Bloomington. You got Tuscaloosa. Okay, you and I, Big Ten fans, but at the same time, we love college football, SEC country. A lot of these towns, not just down in the South, all over the country. I wouldn't know I wouldn't know about Eugene, Oregon, if it wasn't for the Ducks. I wouldn't know about that. I wouldn't know about Spokane, Washington. Now, basketball, I know Spokane's great basketball tradition, but I mean, personally, I wouldn't know about a lot of these towns if it wasn't for collegiate sports. And I think the economic effect, not just for the schools, but the towns, you have your mom and pop type of restaurants or stores that get a lot of their revenue during this time period that they may not get. And they won't get it at all, but they're going to miss out on a lot of money, a lot of revenue, simply because collegiate sports isn't there. I think fans like myself, maybe even you, I'm not going to speak for you, we've come to grips and realized that we're not going to games. Like I try to go to at least 1 or 2 games every year. We're not going. Okay, I get that. The climate and what's going on in our country has said fans stay home, players you play, all of that stuff. But I'm worried, me personally, I am worried about the college towns. And let's say there is no football. Some of those restaurants may still be open so fans can come in and watch the games, even though they can't go to the stadium. You say there's no football, they have nothing. And you're going to see a lot of communities hurting. I mean, literally hurting, because the thing they live for every fall is down. One more thing. People talk a lot about mental health, and I know I heard Ryan Day talk about it. It's been hit on by a lot of people. It's been horrible. But at the same time, I think if you want to have a chance, and I'm saying this as someone that believes a safe place, if not the safest place for a lot of these athletes, is at school with their coaches, with their teammates, with the medical personnel that's there. I think if you take that away, mental health will be a bigger problem now than it already is.
Oh, man. I mean, I'm just going to touch base real quick on all these things, Jay. Like, I'm stamping it. I think all those things you said are valid points. Things that you've got the fanatics that are just seeing it for football, right? Oh, we don't have our football. But no, there is a ripple effect in all aspects. We're talking mom and pop shops, everything there. We've already seen the impact that this pandemic has had on restaurants and so forth in different cities. But you take out college football from a football town, a college town, I should say. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, people need to realize, and they're not getting a stimulus check for this. This isn't coming. No, this is going to be the impact. People are going to lose their jobs. There's mental health concerns that are going to be coming into this. You're not going to get any out-of-state tuition coming in from students. No one's living on campus. There's a lot of things. And you think that's just going to impact this year? No. Some schools might be able to get away with it, but certain towns, it's going to have a bad impact on them. And people think that's dramatic. That's reality. And I think we just have to come to terms with it. And it's hard for me, man, because even with the Big Ten talking, like when other conferences, even the group, like, the MAC cancels their schedule stuff, and the Pac-12, you got California schools didn't want to leave, like all these different like stipulations for the season. I almost was like, before even today, when the Big Ten starts talking, I almost was like, this season sucks anyways. Like, I was going to go to the Oregon-Ohio State game. We already had tickets. I were plans to go. I had bought the hotel and everything. We were ready to roll. Like, and when they started canceling everything, I'm like, there's nothing to even play for. So why do we even want to play? Like, I wasn't even excited for it then. Like, I've just been sitting here kind of like, this is all like a joke. And then, thinking about it now without any football at all, now I'm kind of worried for everybody. Like you said, I'm worried for the cities. It's going to suck, man.
Yeah, it will. I want to pose this question to you. Put yourself in the shoes, and I'm going to name some powerful, big-time head coaches at universities. Some may not have as much power as others, but you'll get the gist. Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, a Herm Edwards, who's recently came back to coaching out there at Arizona State, a Ryan Day. These guys that are the heads of their teams, these guys that have young 18 to 22-year-old young men looking to them, or even also have other coaches that coach fall sports that have other young men, young women, 18 to 22 age range, looking up to them during this time period. That's who they look to for answers. And at this time period, they don't call the shots. During the game, we know who to look forward to, who to look to when something's going good, when something's going bad. It's the head coach. But right now, we're finding out, which I didn't realize this because I assumed the ADs were the ones calling the shots. No, it's the presidents, chancellors of these universities that are calling the shots. Imagine you being a head coach right now. No matter if you are, no matter if the coach is for a season or not for a season, that kind of goes out the window. Because no matter what, you're going to have young men, young women looking to you for answers, and you can't answer those questions right now. If you were in those shoes, how do you think, or what would be some thoughts going through your head when these questions start coming your way?
Man, I put myself in their position today as I was looking at like how certain coaches were responding. Love him or hate him, but Scott Frost, like,
yeah,
I love Coach Frost, like coming out there and being like, no, like we'll play in a different league. We'll play. Like we want to play. We're gonna play. And you've got other coaches out there saying, hey, no, we're gonna do what we can to fight on and play. Like you gotta have a voice, right? So if I'm a coach, I'm gonna do what I can to at least voice my concerns. And if that means you got to take it to social media, which you probably tell your players to stay off of. I mean, sometimes in today's world, that's where people see your opinion is on social media, and that's where it will get blasted, especially if you have a fan base that's passionate as well. That thing's going to get retweeted about a million times. So I would make sure that the student athletes, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, make sure they know that I'm with them, and I'm going to do everything in my absolute power, which may be limited. I have my hands tied, but I will do everything in my power and go down swinging. That's something that, like, as a boxing analogy, my boxing coach always taught me that when I fought for Golden Gloves is like, hey, if you get rocked and you know that you're kind of loopy, and you're going to, rather than just put your hands up and take the hits, if you think you're going to go down, you go down swinging and start swinging. If that opens you up and you get caught, that's fine. But you swing until you go down if you think you're going to go down, because you never know if you can catch somebody. That's my analogy here. That's my thought here. If you're a coach, show the team that you support them and go down swinging. If your power is limited, you do what you absolutely can. You empty the gas tank and then some.
I think it's kind of interesting, the series of tweets we've seen from so many players, Pac-12 players. We are united, speaking up, voicing their opinion, letting their voice be heard in that way about the list of things that they had on that chart. Then you go to players in the Big Ten and primarily Ohio State who said, we set the standard, and that was part of the hashtag of the list. And these are things that are going on social media. Let's go back a month or two, and we saw the things at Iowa and Kirk Ferentz where they let their strength and conditioning coach go because of things that were going on in the university. A lot of times people are saying social media has positives, it has negatives. But what I've seen lately is that we see a lot of people in collegiate sports, football primarily, they're going to social media. And I don't know if the coaches are saying tweet this or not tweet this. I don't know. I'm not in those meetings. I don't have access inside information about what's going on. But what I'm seeing right now, and this is very, very close here as well. I'm a big high school athletics fan, high school football, basketball fan here in Indianapolis. And so they recently made a ruling, the Marion County, which is a county that goes in Indianapolis, ruling about fall sports. Well, they got pushback primarily, I believe, on social media. They backtracked their statement a few hours later and went back and went more in favor for the season. And I think primarily because of social media. And what I think we may be seeing right now, coach saying it, I don't know. But right now the players want to play. The coaches want to coach, which I think that's huge. You have adults that want to coach as well. And Jim Harbaugh gets a lot of negative attention, negative publicity. He just had that thing with the Big Ten conference call, and he calling out for cheaters. Okay, whatever. You can say whatever you want about that. But Jim Harbaugh is even being an advocate for his players, for his team. I think that speaks volumes, and that may be part of what we're seeing. The Big Ten and Pac-12, they very well may have been ready to cancel the season, and the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 would have been like, okay, y'all can play if y'all want to, but it would just be 3 of the Power 5. Y'all go ahead, SEC, get more of that TV money. You already have that CBS deal. Okay, Fox will open up their window. ESPN will open up their window to give you some more money. And I think what we're finding, and this is the way that I viewed it, the power of social media right now. The Pac-12 players speaking out, and I think the officials in the Pac-12 said, okay, we may have to fix some things here. The Big Ten players speaking out, showing support for the university. Okay, great, we have something solid here. And then as soon as the news got out that the Big Ten and Pac-12 are planning on it wasn't like they're not going to cancel. It seemed like they were just waiting. You're ready to cancel on Tuesday, ready for the next people to just follow suit.
Yep.
Once they got pushed back, the backtracking and they're going back. I know I got to kind of go long, but man, that's kind of what it feels like to me. The power, we're seeing the power and the positive impact social media can have for a people. And to me, Shane, it's a beautiful thing when a lot of people, different age groups, are on the same wavelength trying to accomplish one positive goal.
Right. And I mean, it's tricky though as well, because you're seeing organizations, you're seeing obviously sports teams, we're seeing high school, we're seeing collegiate level, just everything you just discussed. They're making decisions based on fear at times because of the backlash that social media can have. And so I do think it's awesome when we use the platform. I do think it is swaying people's decisions, though. The same thing you see in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Someone won't post something because they're scared that they're going to lose a follower. Well, you do that on social media nowadays. It's the same thing as a student. The second you put something out there, it's going to get blasted to the world. You got to be careful. And so these organizations are scared to say certain things, even though they might be needing to stick with a certain, like there's underlying reasons we don't know that they don't want to play sports or they don't want to do this. But then they say something and they get destroyed for it, and then all of a sudden, well, their jobs are at stake if they, people are going to force them out. It's a tricky situation, but I'm with you. If you utilize social media right, and you have all these people with a common goal and a common purpose that can utilize it correctly, it can be a great thing. I think people are giving pushback, and they're like, no, because before this, what would have happened, Jay, if we wouldn't have had social media during this pandemic? Think about it. Let's go back, 15 years ago before Twitter. What would have happened before this pandemic? How would we have been handled? It would have been sent out in the newspapers, and there's nothing the public could have done to really show their support one way or the other. And so we would have just gone with the flow. I really think that we would have just gone with the flow. This Ohio State Twitter day that I just watched all day long and laughed at certain comments, that would never have happened. I'd been like, hey, Big Ten's canceling the season. Sorry, Ohio State. Everybody else, you're gone. We're better luck next year. Hopefully this thing's good. We would have read it in the paper or maybe ESPN.com, and that would have been it. We just accept it. But now you have a platform in which you can actually utilize to vocalize your opinion. So I think that is a good thing.
Yeah. So on that note, good things. There is a possibility, some people don't like it, but there's a possibility of football if some conferences cancel. FCS has already canceled, I think, 8 of 13 conferences already said no. I believe it's no fall sports. I forget if North Dakota State, last I heard, they're not one of those that is in that group that has canceled their season, but things change. It's a very fluid situation, so that could change any minute now. But I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on spring football when it comes to college football starting either in January or February.
It's a good idea in theory. I know a lot of people will disagree with that because of, they're passionate about the fall sports, and that's what fall sports. We've gotten comfortable with that our whole entire lives. Like our whole existence has been based around Saturdays being college football. That being said, it's a good idea in theory, but it's going to change everything. And I don't think there's any perfect answer here. I think it'd be cool to at least have football, but I'm speaking from Ohio State. I'm speaking from Clemson's perspective. Two of the top teams in the country, probably top 5 teams in the country. You're not going to get Justin Fields playing in the spring. He's not going to play. He would opt out and he'd get ready for the NFL draft. Same with Lawrence isn't going to go in there and play because if he has the potential of getting hurt, he's not going to do that. So these Heisman candidates, the best players on some of these top tier teams that are going to be playing for a national championship aren't going to play anyways. So what's the point, right? It sucks. It completely takes out the competitive balance. So you have to weigh those two options. I mean, that's the reality of it. I said it a couple months back. I said we very well may have just seen the last of Justin Fields and the last of Trevor Lawrence in uniform. And I was sad to say that, but I was like, I have a feeling that might be the case. We very well may have seen that. And we're starting to see that right now. It's possible. They're going to fight, trying to get it. But even if there's a spring league, they're not playing. And so that's just the reality. I don't know if anybody who's trying to think otherwise, I don't know what they're thinking. Common sense would tell you that they're not playing anymore if they don't do a fall season. So I like the idea of at least still having it for the financial impact that it will have on a university. It can save a lot of universities a lot of hardship moving forward. The fact is, though, for competitive balance, it's still going to be a very, very uncomfortable and I would say odd college football season, regardless of what happens. Because even if they were to say, oh, we're playing tomorrow, we're going to just play throughout the fall season, it's going to be the most different, it's the most unique, different season we've ever seen in college football anyways, because we're not doing out-of-conference stuff. There's going to be less traveling. What happens when one of the players gets COVID because they're going to? It's just common sense that someone's going to get sick. There's no way to keep people from getting sick. They're going to get sick. What do we do then? It's going to be one of those weird seasons regardless. I think if we just all come to terms with it, regardless of when they play, it would be cool to me.
I agree with that. I mean, it would be cool. I think the fan in myself, and you may agree with this as well, if you get, and I know you're not going to get Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, there's so many players. I mean, goodness, if FCS goes to spring football, by Trey Lance, I mean, he's not playing, like, he's not going to play. North Dakota State's quarterback probably won't play either. But the side of me that would enjoy that, even though I'm not for spring football either, I would enjoy having college football and college basketball all day on Saturday. The networks, they can decide who they want to play where and all that stuff. That's great. But I would love to have, imagine a day where you have Ohio State, Michigan, then you have UNC and Duke in the evening. That'd be great. I'm here for it. But I'm right there with you. Like, it'd be so hard in application because not only do you have to try to fit in the season where you know certain players aren't going to play, your recovery time is maybe 2 to 3 months before hitting camp again to get ready for the fall season in 2021. Your body is so used to having the extra time. And let's say you have, I don't want this to happen, but injuries happen all the time. Let's say a running back tears his ACL in March. By the next season, because he can't play in August, September, October. His body is not ready and properly healed, which is kind of nice. When we have those long summers or those long times to recover, your body needs those 3, 4, 5 months to recover. Even if you don't have a crazy injury, it's so nice to wake up as a football player and you're not having to deal with car accidents play after play after play. Yep. You can wake up, relax, get the proper treatment and stuff like that. So I'm just I don't know if that's something that people are thinking about when it comes to spring football. But if you were someone that had that thought in your head there about spring football and the next season, like, how would you try to put together some weird schedule? Excuse me, I can't talk. Some weird schedule and order of events like that.
Man, it's tough. That's the thing is I don't know. I don't know what the perfect answer is for it because it's unprecedented. It's the first time we've ever had to actually look at something like that. And, you're going to get backlash no matter what from whatever kind of fan base. So it's like you're going to have to get the players to be on board with it. I would think the majority of players would probably be okay with it. They're competitors. And us who have played sports at a competitive level, like, we understand that you want to compete. As long as it's not going to mess up your scholarship and whatnot. I think that's a whole nother discussion, whether or not they're going to try to be advocates of getting paid again. I think that might be a bigger push here in the near future, very near future. Have you? It's hard to say that because you're putting if it's not COVID, then it's an early, it's a quick time off before the camp starts for next season. So you got to risk either way with that. So if I'm putting it together, I'm trying to see what are the benefits for the players. You've got to show these players and coaches who have family lives they have to attend to as well. That's the time off is never really time off for a coach, but it is more so a time off than it is during the season. So you got to find out the benefits for the players and the coaches. Does that mean you have to compensate them outside of just a scholarship? Possibly. Does that mean they're advocating for insurance and so forth if they play for 5+ years after they're done playing, in regards to all this? Does that mean you have to do that? Possibly. I don't know. There's a lot of things you're going to have to look at. So if I'm putting that together for spring season and I'm advocating for that, I'm showing the players and the coaches exactly we are obviously know the risks. I'm going to outweigh those risks with as many rewards as I possibly can if I really want to have football continue on.
What would you say are a couple pros and a couple cons to having football in the fall?
Pros of having football in the fall? Are you talking about the current structure as if it were to start tomorrow and certain schools aren't playing and certain teams are? Okay. Pros to that is we get college football, get competitive, and we get a competitive setting in some form or fashion, and the majority of it's good. We get conference football. Big Ten, the majority of the teams are going to be playing each other. Do we miss out on some of the big games? Yes. Out-of-conference games, which we all love? Yes. But we get the football that we enjoy having. The players themselves get some sense of normalcy. They get to compete. They've been working their butts off. A lot of those players, it's their last year playing. Some players for Clemson, who lost the national championship, and Ohio State, who lost in devastating fashion in the Fiesta Bowl semifinal, wanted revenge, right? And they have that weighing on them a little bit. They'd get that opportunity to get out there and get on the field again. That would be a pro. Obviously, the financial impact to those college towns that we discussed earlier. Cons, playing, one, you're in front of no fans, so it's going to be weird anyways. Two, you're going to risk yourself of the whole pandemic, and then you have to deal with all the backlash that comes with that. Three, the season's just weird anyways, and so you're dealing with all of that because you start the season and you have the risk of the season ending the second one of your players gets the virus, right? The second, you're in the middle of a season, you're making a national championship run, all of a sudden Justin Fields comes down with flu-like symptoms, which normally would just be like, oh, he's out for the week because he had flu-like symptoms. We'll hook him up to an IV. Oh, but no, all of a sudden he's got coronavirus. Oh, the whole team shut down. Like, whatever your stance is on it, I don't care. I'm not going to get into that with your listeners. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, now we have a whole nother thing that we never were looking at before, but now all of a sudden, because the media has portrayed it in a certain way, we have to look at it that way. And so that's a con. And in my opinion, if we were to play in the fall, you have to always have that in the back of your head. Whereas before, players play sick all the time, and we don't think about it. They play sick all the time. I did it myself. I boxed sick. I played basketball sick, shook people's hands when I was sick playing basketball, gave them fist bumps, I had cold sweats, whatever. Now we had to always look about that. And so you have this uncomfortable feeling throughout the entire fall season. So that would be a con in my opinion.
Okay. A couple rapid fire questions to come at you really quickly. This has been fun. College football, I love it. I know you love it. Been following you for a while. I'm glad we could finally get together and put and just have some fun here. Hopefully the next time we do this, it's more enjoyable conversation
for sure.
Than the possibility or not possibility of not having college football in the fall. But I got 9 questions here at the end. I'll give you some time to promote yourself, promote your shows, everything you do and things like that. Guys, I will also tell you before I get to these questions, he has started a 900 before 9. I don't know how this started, but Shane has been killing it with the workouts. How'd that start? I got this stuff here, but how'd you get into that?
Yo, listen, that's actually funny. I didn't even know you were paying attention to that at all. So back in March on my show, The Gametime Guru, I interviewed Bruce Buffer, who's the voice of the Octagon for the UFC. He does all the announcing for the UFC. If any mixed martial arts fans are out there, had him on my show. And when I was talking to him, I said, hey, what's one of the things you're doing during the pandemic right now? It's during quarantine right now. What are you doing to, keep yourself sane? And he mentioned in that interview that he's working out. Like, he's like, if we're going to get sick, you got to build your immune system, have your lungs at full capacity, so forth. He's like, I've been working out every single day as hard as I could. Like, he's like, this is the hardest I've worked out in a long time, dedicating myself to this rather than just sitting home and eating. Well, guys, before you guys judge me, I was 260 pounds. And for me, it's the heaviest I've ever been. I used to fight at 185, just for reference. And then my normal athletic weight for basketball is about 200 to 215. I was 260 pounds, and it was a fluffy 260, not anything muscle I was eating. I decided, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself. I got to burn 900 calories before 9 o'clock in the morning. That's how I'm going to start. That's not my calories that I burn throughout the whole day. My goal is 1,500 per day, and obviously I'm trying to work it to a healthier lifestyle. But my whole goal is just 900 before 9, because that's when my work day starts, is at 9 o'clock in the morning. So like, if I can get 900 calories burned before 9 o'clock, that's usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours of exercise, then I'll get myself back in a routine. So I started that back on March 19th and lost 35 pounds so far, getting myself back into my athletic shape more and more throughout each week. And yeah, it was just kind of a fun thing. And I'm actually starting, there's more to come on that here in the very near future for 900 before 9. But it's so funny you said that, dude. I didn't know you were paying attention to that at all.
Oh, yeah, man. I don't always comment on stuff, but I see a lot of what goes on. Let's get right into these rapid-fire questions very quickly. Some sports, some not sports, so just be ready to throw some stuff at you, have a little fun quickly, and then I'll wrap this thing up. Number one, thought of question number one. Name 3 people, your 3 most memorable interviews.
Ooh. Rapid fire. Okay. Bruce Buffer, Jerry Stackhouse, and Coach Jason Brown from Last Chance U, Indy Community College, who was from seasons 3 and 4 of Last Chance U, or 3 and 4 of Last Chance U.
Yeah, JB was 3 and 4, I believe.
Yeah, JB. Yep.
Favorite Ohio State football player?
All time or current?
Both.
Ooh, all time, Eddie George. That's the reason I'm a Buckeyes fan. Maurice Claret was one of my very, very favorites. Shoot, that's hard to say. So all time, Eddie George. Current, oh my goodness, that's super, super hard for me. I'm going to go with Justin Fields, even though he's only been there a year. I love the dude. I think he's an absolute monster. So
he is a stud. Favorite college football stadium that you've been to? And I know you've been to quite a few.
That's so hard to say. I'm going to go with the shoot, because I've only been to Columbus once. It was my first time 3 years ago against Oklahoma when Baker torched us. And yeah, I've been to a lot of cool stadiums in my day, but Columbus has got it, dude. Ohio State's got it.
Away from Columbus, what's your second? And this cannot be Boise State. Aside from Boise State, aside from Ohio State, what comes next up in being favorite stadium?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
The Nebraska fans and the whole experience there is unlike anything I've ever seen as far as like their loyalty. I'll tell you that much. Like, I've never seen a more loyal fan base, and that's 100% true. So yeah, Lincoln was a great experience there. It's just old. It's an older stadium. It's kind of gross, but that's what makes it cool.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
San Diego, California. I know that sounds weird. I lived in Brazil for 2 years. People say, oh, don't you want to go back down to Brazil? Yeah, it's beautiful there. Nah, San Diego, California is my favorite city in the entire world.
Okay. Piggybacking off of that vacation thing, what's a place you want to go but you have never been?
Hawaii.
Why?
I want to be around the water. I love the water. My wife loves the water. My little boys love the water. And I just want to be out there in the sunshine, man. I think the water is amazing, and being out in the sun, there's something about it, man. There's something about being in the sun, because I hate snow. And I'm in Idaho, man. We get snow all the time, but I hate it. Hate it.
Right there with you. What's a game you would love to attend in any sport?
Ohio State, Michigan football, and that's at either stadium. That's one of my bucket list items, is any stadium. I wouldn't even mind going to Michigan to watch that game. Ohio State, Michigan's been one of my bucket list items forever. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm a passionate sports fan for all other sports as well, but Ohio State, Michigan, man, I just got to be at one of those games eventually.
If you could work at any network doing anything, what network would you work at, and what would you be doing at said network?
Ooh. Well, I'd be working at the Gametime Guru, GTG Media, if they had me backed up with some cash flow, like a good capital cash flow, I should say, not just small amounts of money. But Fox Sports, if we're going real. I used to be, my whole goal my whole life was to work for ESPN. I've shifted focus on that. That's why I built my own show, my own media network. But Fox Sports would be where I'd go, and I'd love to be – people can hate on him all day long, but like what Kirk Herbstreit gets to do for ESPN – I'd love to do that. Joel Klatt has one of the best positions, being a play-by-play announcer. I've got experience doing that. But I would love to be able to do a talk show and then cover football on the weekends. That'd be amazing. Do a talk show throughout the week and then do, just travel like Joel Klatt does. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he lives in Cali, so he gets to have that,
that
beauty
life,
as well. Yeah. What was your instant reaction after watching all 10 episodes of The Last Dance? I got 2 more for you. This is one of the 2.
Ooh, you want to know what? Okay. Instant reaction? I was pissed because I'm a Jazz fan.
You could elaborate a little bit as well.
Okay, I was pissed because he pushed off against Brian Russell in the playoffs in the finals. I was in fourth grade when that happened, and I cried for 3 days. Every day for 3 days after the finals, I cried that when I was in fourth grade. So watching that, like especially the last 2 episodes, and watching them beat the Jazz again in the finals is just devastating to me. And I'll also say this: while Michael Jordan may have had the best work ethic, I'm still sticking with LeBron as the best player in the world. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to get into that discussion because that could go for hours, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument for both. Last one, Kobe Bryant is no longer with us, unfortunately, but his playing career is one that people still marvel at to this day. What is one takeaway you take when you think about Kobe Bryant's playing career?
As I've studied Kobe Bryant, more so after he retired, just studying his entire career, his work ethic was unlike anything I've ever seen. And it's not just from a physical standpoint, his mental strength as an athlete and a human being, unlike anything I've ever seen. The mental strength to get up every single day, to be on a certain sleep cycle, to get up and do the workouts that he did. And when the general fan, like the general public, looks at it and they go, well, that was his profession. He got paid millions of dollars to do that. Of course, he's going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he's going to shoot hoops and stuff. You don't understand what it takes to shoot 500 shots a day and do this. That's extremely exhausting. To do that after you've played and done practices, the stuff that he did consistently to work on not only his physical but mental strength, going through injuries, coming back from those, and playing at an elite level for the duration of his entire career, his work ethic was unlike anything I've ever seen. And so what I take away from his career is, like, he had the work ethic that we should all be getting to. It's like David Goggins style, where you calloused your brain to think a certain way, and you could see it even after his playing career. He was a philanthropist. He was helping people out, but he was always going. He was always finding the next thing to get better and improving at. And not everybody's like that. Unfortunately, the majority of the world is comfortable, and they just get comfortable in their own life, and they don't strive to improve. Kobe Bryant's work ethic took him to the next level throughout his whole playing career as well as afterwards.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Shane, this has been fun. Take some time to let people know where they can connect with you via social media and where they can listen to the shows that you do host.
I appreciate you, man. Yeah, so Shane Larson, the Gametime Guru, is my main show. That's what all my handles are on social media. Instagram is where I do a lot of my conversations with people, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the Gametime Guru. And if you want to go find my show where I interview individuals all across the globe, just go find me on any of your podcast networks. Like pretty much every one of the shows that you see out there, go to any podcast network, find the Gametime Guru podcast. For Nation's Best Ballers and Recruits, it's not as big, but you can go and type in Nation's Best Ballers and Recruits, and you'll find it with the Gametime Guru, Shane Larson. Same thing with the Unscripted Ohio Gridiron Gametime podcast. All you got to do is type in Gridiron Gametime. Granted, Gridiron Gametime was a seasonal thing for me, so the last episode I did for that was in December for college football. So hopefully we'll see if we'll get another one up there starting this. You and I might be able to work together. So the main two, Gametime Guru and Nation's Best Ballers and Recruits for now. And then when the Unscripted Ohio Podcast Network launches up again, hopefully I'll have another show coming this fall.
Yes, sir. Hopefully, I would look forward to potentially working together this coming fall. Shane, this has been fun. Thank you so much for coming on, talking college football here on the JC Simmons podcast.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.